everybody, I am New Yorker, and welcome to episode 4 of Cream Soda Revolutions. I have a very special guest tonight, Eric Clapton!
What's up, folks?
This is clearly not Eric Clapton, this is my roommate, Atsushi. He's young, and he has much to learn about the ways of music, so let us enlighten him with an album from yesteryear. This is Foals' debut LP, Antidotes. I've wanted to talk about Foals since episode 1. I know you've listened to this album at least once. How do you feel about this album, Atsushi?
It's pretty dank.
It's pretty dank. You heard it here first, folks. Okay, so you know the drill. I'm going to go through each song. I like this album, clearly, or I wouldn't be talking about it, blah, blah, blah. Let's begin. Okay, song number 1, The French Open. First off, remember historically how British people hate French people because of, like, invasions and shit like that? Why the hell does a British band like Foals have a song that's mostly in French?
Well, obviously.
Wise words from Atsushi Ikeda, everybody. This song it's an opener, and I've talked about this on every episode, how, again, first song, the last song, the most important songs, this is a great fucking opening song, okay? The blended horns to start this off, it's this gradual wall of sound. My dog approves, apparently. Wall of sound, and it's a looping factor as well. It doesn't loop perfectly, but the final song in the album, Tron, ends with the same sort of horn section bit. It gets your attention. You know, the first time I heard it, I was like, what the fuck is this? I thought I was listening to a rock album. And then the song actually started, and I was like, okay, good, this is a rock album. It
certainly doesn't have a misleading title.
It does not have a misleading title. It's in French, you're right. And it is an opening song.
It is, indeed, yes.
See what they did there?
Incredible observations.
Nothing particularly special about this song. It sets up the album very well, is I guess the most notable thing. So we're gonna move on. Song number 2, Cassius. You and I argued about this song.
Yeah, just a tiny bit.
Before we started this, and it turns out that we were both right. This song is about two different Cassiuses. Cassies? I'm gonna go with Cassii. I said that it was about Senator Cassius, who is the instigator of the stabbing of Caesar. We should just stab Caesar. Mean Girls joke of the week, everybody. Mean Girls joke. Congratulations, everybody. Mean Girls joke. Okay. And I'm somewhat right. And then he said that it was Cassius Clay, right?
Yep.
Which is Muhammad Ali's birth name. I was going to say alter ego. That was not correct.
He's like Batman.
And they both have the same sort of story, which this song is exemplifying, and that is sort of being that feeling of always being the second brother, you know, of being the third wheel, of not being the important guy, you know, where the senator was like, fuck Caesar, man. You know, he said Caesar was emperor, he was the first emperor, he was fucking full of himself, all that kind of jazz. And then Muhammad Ali, how he was on top for basically his whole career, and eventually that had to end, right? So this song is all about being like, you know what, you came in second, and you're making a big deal about it, but it's really not a big deal. Anything you want to add about this one?
Probably my favorite song on the entire album, just because it throws you right into it at the beginning of the song, like immediately. There's no build up or anything. It's a really good follow up to the French Open, I think.
Yep. It starts spontaneously, which very, very much so helps to lead it in from the French Open. Next, Red Sox Poogie. I'm probably saying that wrong. Someone who's actually British. How do I pronounce this damn song's name? Poogie, Puggy, multiple pugs. I don't know, man. I'm gonna get this out of the way. What the hell is a Red Sox Poogie? Is that a metaphor for something? Because this song has nothing to do with red or socks. It doesn't mention the baseball team. Nothing. This is a song about the feeling of being in love, or at least thinking you're in love, which I could totally respect. I totally get that sort of feeling sometimes. I get where this guy's coming from. Yanis, what a name. Yeah. you can't make that shit up.
No, you can't do it.
You can't. But yeah, so this is the first slower, chiller song on this album compared to French Open and Cassius. It's the first really ambient song on the album as well, which is something to expect from Foals. Foals loves their reverb. Foals love some delay. They love creating a wall of sound. And Red Sox Poogie does that in more of a dream pop sort of sense compared to a shoegaze sense. And what I mean by that is dream pop is sound by being open. It's all about reverb and air and that sort of sound, which is Red Sox Poogie, compared to shoegaze, which is a wall of sound through noise, through distortion and that sort of thing. This is my, I guess, second favorite song on the album. I always really like this song. This is a song that, to me, you want to play when you're walking home after the big game or something like that, when you feel triumphant and you don't give a shit anymore. You know? Next, Olympic Airways. Not to be confused with the actual Olympic Airlines. That's been your fun fact of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Fun fact of the week. All right, fun fact. Yay. Please don't let this be a recurring joke on this podcast. This isn't a comedy podcast. I talk about music and no one listens to it. Anyways, Olympic Airways, one of the more commercially viable songs on here. It's a very radio-friendly song. I know you commented there's one guitar line that plays for like the entire song nonstop.
It's really easy, but it's the right guitar line.
It's one thing that I totally respect about artists that clearly understand what they're doing is not always bringing it up to 10, you know? You got to leave headroom for yourself so that when you do go up to 10, people are like, holy shit, look how good that was, you know? And Olympic Airways maybe is a little safe, but it definitely is a simpler, more straightforward, a more radio-friendly, commercially viable song for them. It's a little unusual for this album because this is their most math rock album. This is...
Exactly.
I don't want to say the most experimental, but it has the most, like, odd rhythms and time signature changing and that sort of thing.
And it's a really good example of quality over quantity, even in a really kind of dense, very rhythmic genre like math rock. You know?
Yeah, definitely. It's not too long. It's not too complicated. It knows exactly what it needs to be, and it does that. Next, Electric Bloom, which is the opposite. Electric Bloom is drawn out on purpose. Electric Bloom has weird shit thrown into it on purpose, which I like. I like that shit. This is one of the more electronic ones. It has a drum machine in it, in addition to acoustic drums. This song is one of the more metaphorical songs on here, which, I mean, they're all metaphorical. None of them are like, this is a song about love, right? But this one, I remember when I first showed you this album, I was like, guess what this song's about? Right. And this song is about the music industry. And I know if you've heard this song, you're scratching your head and saying, what the hell? They talk about, like, vultures and dying kings and stuff like that. That's what a butcher bird is. It's a vulture.
Well, yeah.
And it's the idea is the dying kings are the nice pre-built, pre-packaged stars that major labels are looking for, where they want the whole package all in one nice, clean-cut individual who never smoked and never drank and has never sworn and goes to church and eats their vegetables and that sort of stuff.
The record label execs sound like my mom.
No, they do. They sound like your mom, specifically. And then they take that prepackaged nice little thing and they have 25 people write one song for them, and then that song is big, and then you never hear from them again. And that's the idea of the dying kings on this song. Disclaimer, Atsushi, I am going to confuse the words album, record, and track consistently. I'm going to call the album a song, and I'm going to call a track a record. Anyways, so that's the idea, is they have their one nice little track, and then they fade into obscurity again, and they blew all their money in 2 weeks, so they basically have to go back to their day job, and everything is terrible. And then someone else comes along, and we all love them. And then TMZ puts them on their show, and everyone hates them all of a sudden. Anyway, next. Balloons. Balloons? Balloons! In contrast to Electric Bloom, the most straightforward. It's about love. He says it. We fly balloons on this fuel called love, which is about the ecstatic feeling of loving someone.
Aww.
It's 3 minutes. It's short. It's bombastic. There's a word I haven't used yet. And it's full of life.
Like every good relationship.
Not much to say about this one. It's Foals. That's it. It's more straightforward, and it's a little less experimental, which I can appreciate. Again, same thing with Olympic Airways. The less is more mentality is a viable mentality. So, next song is Heavy Water, which is not a euphemism for alcohol. Fun fact. This one is, as far as I am aware, it's about vampires.
Yeah. Thematic change.
Yeah, they haven't really explained what it is. I mean, the vampire part could be metaphorical. It could be about being in like an abusive relationship or something like that.
Or they suck your blood.
Which is a euphemism for depression and being verbally abusive and stuff like that. Get your
philosophy mate.
Get your minds out of the gutter, everybody. I really like this song. This is also one of my favorites on this album. I especially like the second half when they get into the pulsing sort of nature with the drums and the chords. Which is weird for them playing chords, especially on this album. This song is sort of evocative of their next album, which, in a word, is a grower. Their next album, the vast majority of the songs start slow, or maybe not slow, but quiet and minimal, and then they build into this big crescendo by about the last minute of the song. And Heavy Water kind of does that, while also changing up the formula a bit. Like a completely different drum line, very different, again, more rhythmic, more pulsing nature to the melody and to the chords and the rhythms and everything. It's, I don't know, I guess it's like a window into where they're going after this, which is one thing I really like about Foals, is how on every album there's one or two songs that they're sort of evocative of where they're going to go after this. Very easy example is on their most recent album, Holy Fire. The songs Inhaler and Providence are totally windows into their upcoming album, which comes out in August, which is heavier and more distorted and is more, I don't want to say lively, but more like emotional, like more raw emotions to it.
Right.
And I like that thing. I like sort of predictive stuff like that.
One more thing about Heavy Water. I think it's towards the end where it has that little, not exactly a drum solo, but nice little fills.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it, yeah. So.
It is cool. It is cool. Next, Two Steps Twice. That's a song title. This one's sort of them going, look at me, I'm math rock. Which, I mean, I can kind of appreciate, especially compared to the songs that the couple singles they had before this album, Mathletics especially, is very, look at us, we're math rock, and Two Steps Twice is kind of like that. It changes from, I believe, being in 6 to being in 4. Okay, go for it. Change time signatures. Have fun with it, you know. And I can appreciate them coming up with the melody and saying, look at what like minor changes I can do to have the melody still be just as good but be in 4. You know, and it's nice and refreshing to have that sort of mindset. You know, a lot of people, especially a lot of artists, come up with something cool and they're like, yeah, but I don't think that would work. I don't know how I would fit that in. Then they abandon it, and you lose a cool idea. And I like how in Two Steps Twice they're like, you know what? Let's expand on that cool idea. Next, Big Big Love, Figure 2. Fun fact: it's called Big Big Love Figure 2 because they initially released Big Big Love Figure 1 as the B-side to Mathletics.
What?
The more you know. See, Big Big Love Fig 2.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah.
Figure 2. Aside from the douchey name, I love the super campy children's movie opening guitar part, where it's like, we're gonna march down to the picnic. It's super corny, which I appreciate them putting in a corny little moment like that.
Right.
This one's the other what the fuck is this song about one, which, I mean, all of Foals is what the fuck is this song about, but this one especially. I'm not really sure. I imagine it's about being in love. I'm pretty sure if I had to guess, this is about either being in a relationship that's very rocky and appreciating the moments of clarity and of peace, or it's about someone whose life is kind of rocky, and then the relationship is the moments of like peace and clarity in his life. Another bit of a grower. This one definitely changes into a pretty different song by the end, which is again and something that I really appreciate when an artist can craft a song over time, as opposed to here's an idea, how do I stretch this out over 3.5 minutes? You know, anything you want to put in this?
No. For the most part, I would say actually the first half of the album is more memorable than the second half, except with an exception being like Swimming, I believe. That's the only one out of the latter half which I really enjoyed and kind of really remember, just because it's so concise and
I can get that. The first half is very much it's very much, I don't want to say an introductory sort of thing, but it's like a consistent energy and a consistent feel to it. And the second half is sort of starting with Heavy Water. It sort of it brings it down into a more melancholy state.
Yep.
Next, the aforementioned Like Swimming. What does it sound like?
Like Swimming.
Like Swimming, exactly. This song is, with the exception of Daft Punk-esque synth, as close as you can get to what it sounds like to be underwater. Which is weird.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to describe.
Listen to the song. Pause this. Go Google Like Swimming.
Like a minute
it's minute 58 if you include the static at the end. Right. Okay, welcome back. Thank you for pausing and going and listening to Like Swimming. Now that you can understand what we're talking about with this song, I appreciate an instrumental. You can really tell that they're on an indie label because they were allowed to put an instrumental on this album. And I don't know, it's one idea, and it has a little bit of variation going on. But Foals likes putting these really short songs on their albums. Like Fugue, for example, on Total Life Forever is 49 seconds. And it's there for a good reason, and that's because transitioning from the song before it and the song after it is impossible without Fugue being in the middle. Right. And Like Swimming does that. Like Swimming exists solely to set up the final song, Tron, which is cool. I like doing that. Like on my debut EP, buy it when it's out, the intro song is a minute. Drums and static and a little bit of melody to it, but it's a minute and like 15 seconds, and the idea is it sets up the album. The song doesn't necessarily have to stand on its own as long as it can stand within the context of the album, which is what something like Swimming is for. And finally, Tron. Yes, like the movie. It's a Daft Punk song from 4 years before that movie came out, and it's all about throwing laser light discs and bouncing around in your father. Exactly. Yes, it's not about that. As far as I can tell, the only reason they call it Tron is because of the beginning, which is that sort of almost Morse code-esque synth line with like 3 different synth things going at once. This is my personal favorite song on the album. I really like Tron, half because the drum part is really fun, and I like how they're weaving between different time signatures. This is probably the one other song on the album that's, look at me, I'm math rock! They very much so like to, especially on this one, go, you know what, let's go to 3/4 now. Alright, let's go back to 4 now. Alright, let's go to 6/8, woo! You know. And it's a cool song with a cool meaning to it. This one is about, again, as near as I can tell, because these guys don't like going out there and writing essays about what their songs are about, but as near as I can tell, this song is about either like a country or a generation or something like that, some sort of organization screwing something up royally and saying, you know what, don't worry about it, the people after us are going to fix it. You know, like the line in the, I guess... I don't want to call it a chorus, but it's kind of a chorus. Yeah, the line, if something won't heal, our children can't help us out, which is the sort of idea like, oh man, we screwed something up, and we spent like, say, a week trying to fix it, we couldn't figure out something, someone else will fix it. You know, we'll leave it for the next guy to fix our problem for us. Which is a very
Shitty mindset.
it is a shitty mindset, but it's a very topical song. Fuck you, Generation X and baby boomers. Damn you.
Hashtag get wrecked.
Hashtag get wrecked. All right, that is every song. So as per usual, we're going to talk about the album as a whole. Yeah, here we go. So first thing I want to talk about the album as a whole is how different this one is compared to Total Life Forever and Holy Fire. Mm-hmm. One thing I mentioned last time is evolution of a band's sound, and Foals does this to some people a little drastically. Personally, I think it's the right amount of daringness to it, where Total Life Forever is very different from Antidotes. Still recognizable as the same band, but it is pretty different. And then Holy Fire is very different from Antidotes. It goes even further than Total Life Forever, but I will say Total Life Forever to Holy Fire is less of a jump from Antidotes to Total Life Forever. For example, Total Life Forever is more open. It's more post-rock, post-punk, which basically means they play chords now. And it's, again, like I said earlier, it's a builder. And it's
like Bob.
It's exactly like Bob. They can fix everything. And joke of the podcast right there. Joke of the podcast. Well done.
Hashtag comedy.
Hashtag comedy. We're bringing it. We don't know where we're bringing it, but we're bringing it somewhere. Not here, that's for sure.
Here, nope.
Okay. But then Antidotes is math rock. Not the usual sort of proto-metal Dream Theater sort of math rock. Mm-hmm. This is more indie, a more artsy, a more dream pop-esque math rock. One of these podcasts I'm going to explain what dream pop is so that you guys understand, but not today. And then Holy Fire has some more art rock and is a little more gritty and a little more raw. And then their upcoming one is allegedly going to be even more raw, more gritty, more grungy, more Block Party, but good. Shots against Block Party. I'm sorry. Block Party, you were cool. And then Antidotes not only sounds very different, but it looks very different. The album art, the cover art is like completely different. They have a different logo and stuff compared to Total Life Forever, Holy Fire, and then their new one, What Went Down, which has the same sort of logo thing to it. Which I know you said you like Antidotes. Right?
Yeah, that's my favorite out of all. Like, as an individual kind of thing of cover art, then yeah, I would pick Antidotes, but for consistency and whatnot,
for consistency, I would like if Antidotes had the same thing, because right now Antidotes looks like the bastard redheaded stepchild, where all the other children look very nice in their prim and proper private school outfits, and then there's Antidotes over here, who's like vomited on himself. And I mean, it looks cool. Like, I like the colors in his mouth, which look like pills. Antidotes, you know, but I like the consistency in the aesthetic of putting the other ones next to each other and having basically the same logo, which it does change slightly. The font changes slightly. Yep. But I don't know. I think it would look cooler as far as putting them all next to each other. Especially since it would be one thing if they were all different, like every other band, where all the album covers look totally different. But it's because all of them look same-y, except for this one.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
And they all have a water theme, if you notice that. The first one, Totally Forever, they're underwater. Holy Fire, they're on horses coming, like, on the beach. And then the other one, I think it's, like, raining or misty or something like that. It's pretty cool.
Okay, that's cool.
Fun water facts. That'll be my next podcast, Fun Water Facts. Fun water fact number 1, if you ask a bartender for H2O, they'll give you water. But if you ask them for H2O2, you'll die because you drank hydrogen peroxide. Anyways, I guess that's really it. I want to talk about this album as a whole, because I feel like I could talk about Foals in general for like an hour, and I don't want to bore my one listener. Hi, Mom. I'm gonna keep this one a little concise, and we are running a little bit low on time, but we're not too bad. So I'm gonna move on to my music geek of the week, which this week very much so also could have been Stylistic Evolution, but it's not going to be. This one is going to be the this week, it's going to be the separation of the artist and then their music. And what I mean by that is taking the artist as a person as opposed to the artist as the music. Like, for example, if you listen to, say, whatever album by someone who turns out to be a total asshole, and then you don't want to listen to their music anymore strictly because they're an asshole, And one thing with Foals is Yanis. Yanis. Yanis is a very opinionated person, and he's very vocal with his opinions. Some of which I agree with, some of which I don't. So one thing with Foals is you have to sometimes, especially depending on your mindset and your experiences and whatnot, you sometimes have to sort of ignore Yanis as a person and just appreciate them for their music. Which I know some people are going to immediately take to your keyboards and blaze up my comment section with, how could you defend him, blah, 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 blah. He's probably a Meninist, too, and he hates black people or whatever. You'll make up something, I'm sure. And my thing is, hold on a moment, okay? He's not a total dick. He's not racist. He's not homophobic. He said such and such artist sucks. And he said he doesn't like Spotify. What's wrong with that? I don't like Spotify. I don't think Spotify pays people enough. And I don't like some of the artists that he mentioned. So, in my opinion, as long as you're not being actually problematic, as long as you didn't go out there and say, by the way, I hate all lesbians, who cares, He's not doing anything terrible, so whatever, He's been up to a couple antics. Big deal. He's a musician.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've all gotten up to antics. Man, get over yourself, okay? So I just wanted to bring that up really quick. How sometimes you can't think of the music and the artist as the same thing. Sometimes you can, especially when it's convenient. But when it's inconvenient, sometimes you have to take some stuff with a grain of salt, and you have to disassociate some things. It's my big word of the week. Wow, big word of the week, everybody. Big words. Big boy words. I'm a big kid now. Can I use that? Can I say that without getting flagged?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I think that's about the end. It's 30 minutes right now. Although after editing, it may be down a little from there. But I'm going to make my recommendation, as always, which is when you should listen to this album. You should listen to this album nonstop. This album should be considered breathing to you. This should be your breakfast and your second breakfast and your lunch and your dinner and everything. You should worship this album. Build an idol to this album in your back corner where you don't let anyone, even your best friends, see. I am kidding. This is a great album, and I really love this album because I really love this band. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. When should you listen to this album? Not when you want to be pumped up. Aside from like 2 songs, this album isn't going to make you energetic. Right. This is more of a winding down sort of afternoon album. Foals in general, for the most part, is Holy Fire, not quite so much, but this one and Total Life Forever, definitely. So this is more of a kind of like with Melophobia, but same time frame, but different reason. Like with Melophobia, I said that's the get on the bus on the way back home from school, and I feel the same way with Antidotes, but Melophobia is more get on the bus because you're going to get home and call up your friends and go to the movies and party all night, whereas Antidotes is more get on the bus, go home, and then read a book or something, or maybe it's evening and you just got off work and you're going to go home, eat dinner, and fall asleep. It's definitely a winding down album. Any final thoughts from you, Atsushi?
I haven't quite listened to the album enough to really give it a fair review yet, but regarding what you said about how it's not a great album to listen to when you're getting pumped up, yeah, despite it being math rock, I suppose I can see that, but one exception for sure, though, would be Cassius. I think that one's really good for getting pumped up, just because it, like I said, it throws you right into it.
Cassius is definitely a party song, for sure. Shut up! Yes, it is. It's a party. It's a party song. As far as rhythms and the BPM and stuff, it's a party song. I don't mean like play it in your EDM mix at your next house party. I mean like it's a jump around your room sort of song.
Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd have.
Hey! Nope. I don't give numbers. I don't quantify things. Remember, music is not quantifiable. It's a great album. I really like it. You should try it. I'm gonna be the first to admit this one more so than their other ones is not for everyone. But you should try it. However, I am definitely out of time now.
How about this? It's dank out of 10.
It is dank out of 10. It Shreks other albums.
Cassie's It's Ogre.
Cassie's It's Ogre. Get out of my swamp because my podcast is over. This has been Cream Soda Revolutions for Antidotes by Foals. I have been New Yorker. This has been Atsushi. Say goodbye, Atsushi.
Dick.
Why do I invite you to do things?
Come on.
Bye-bye.